Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh and greetings to all. I am Dr. Aida Baizra Baha as Chair of the STPM examination syllabus for the STPM Literature in English subject. Will deliver a briefing on the new syllabus for the STPM Literature in English subject. This syllabus is discovery learning oriented. It is student-centered in its approach and emphasizes the 6 taxonomies of the cognitive domain, namely to remember, to understand, to apply, to analyze, to evaluate, and to create. With these taxonomies in mind, the aims of this subject have been formulated to, number 1, engage students through the study of classical and modern texts, exposing them to a variety of genres. 2, create a balance between academic rigor and learning enjoyment, and also to cater to students' interest in contemporary culture. 3, bridge the gap between secondary and tertiary education with a focus on developing literary skills and appreciation via a syllabus structured according to genres. And finally, number 4, help students to engage with the 6 multifaceted cognitive skills so that their learning becomes progressively enhanced. Hence, we would like to encourage students to draw connections between the text, the world, and their own realities, so hopefully the syllabus will promote higher order critical and creative thinking skills. Moving on from the aims of the subject is the objectives. It is consistent with the aims and cognitive domain of the syllabus. Upon its completion, we hope the candidates will be able to do the following. First, demonstrate understanding of texts by giving critical and detailed responses using relevant and appropriate textual evidence, and present their arguments in clear, effective, and well-organized prose. 2, explain how meaning is conveyed through the use of language, structure, form, point of view, and other literary devices. 3, compare and contrast texts in relation to language, structure, form, issues, and themes. 4, demonstrate awareness of the social, cultural, contemporary, and historical backgrounds of the texts and the different approaches to their interpretations. 5, relate texts to their personal experiences and their own social, cultural, contemporary, and historical backgrounds. And finally, number 6, demonstrate creativity in using language competently to show critical understanding of the texts and their related issues, taking into consideration multifaceted purposes and audiences. Ladies and gentlemen, linking the objectives to the specific aims of the syllabus, we have designed it to enable candidates to engage with and make informed responses to a selection of texts from different literary traditions and genres. Hopefully, it will also develop critical and creative thinking. As we all know, the scheme of assessment for this subject begins with Semester 1 with the code 920/1 paper name Poetry and Short Stories. The assessment is in written form, consisting of 3 sections. Candidates will be tested on the prescribed list of poetry and short stories, which will be shared later in this briefing. Section A is critical appreciation, where candidates will be given 2 essay questions, namely an excerpt on a prescribed poem and another excerpt on a prescribed short story, but will only choose 1 question to answer. Section B will be an assessment on poetry. Again, candidates will be given 2 essay questions based on the prescribed list of poetry, but will only choose 1 question to answer. Finally is Section C, which is an assessment on short stories with the same format of question, where candidates will be given 2 essay questions based on the prescribed list of short stories, but will only choose one answer. With regards to the marks scheme, the total mark for this paper is 75, with 25 marks allotted for each section. This means that 33.33% of this paper will contribute to the overall marks for candidates who sit for this subject examination. The duration of this exam is 2 hours and it is a centralized assessment. We now move on to semester 2 with the code 920/2 paper name place. Like semester 1, the assessment is in written form consisting of 3 sections. Candidates will be tested on the 2 prescribed plays, which are Othello by William Shakespeare and A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. Section A is critical appreciation, where candidates will be given 2 essay questions, 1 on each play, but will only choose 1 question to answer. Section B will be an assessment on Othello. Candidates will be given 2 essay questions, but will only choose 1 question to answer. Finally is Section C, which is an assessment on A Doll's House with the same format of question, where candidates will be given 2 essay questions, but will only choose 1 question to answer. With regards to the marks scheme, the total mark for this paper is 75, with 25 marks allotted for each section. This means that 33.33% of this paper will contribute to the overall marks for candidates who sit for this subject examination. The duration of this exam is 2 hours and it is a centralized assessment. Finally is semester 3 with the code 920/3 paper name novels. Like semester 1, the assessment is in written form consisting of 3 sections. Candidates will be tested on the 2 prescribed novels, which are Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen and The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. Section A is critical appreciation, where candidates will be given 2 essay questions, 1 on each novel, but will only choose 1 question to answer. Section B will be an assessment on Sense and Sensibility. Candidates will be given 2 essay questions, but will only choose 1 question to answer. Finally is Section C, which is an assessment on The Namesake with the same format of question, where candidates will be given 2 essay questions, but will only choose 1 question to answer. With regards to the mark scheme, the total mark for this paper is 75, with 25 marks allotted for each section. This means that 33.33% of this paper will contribute to the overall marks for candidates who sit for this subject examination. The duration of this exam is 2 hours and it is a centralized assessment. We now reach the briefing on the prescribed texts for semester 1, which is poetry. There are 16 prescribed poems as follows, which can be sourced from the internet. The first is Sonnet 116, published in 1609 by William Shakespeare. 2. A Valediction Forbidding Mourning, published in 1611 by John Donne. 3. When I Have Fears That I May Cease to Be, published in 1818 by John Keats. 4. Ozymandias, published in 1818 by Percy Bysshe Shelley. 5. To My Father on His Birthday, published in 1844 by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. 6. Last Curtain, published in 1910 by Rabindranath Tagore. 7. Naming of Parts, published in 1942 by Henry Reed. 8 is Woman to Child, published in 1949 by Judith Wright. 9. 40-Love, published in 1971 by Roger McGuff. 10. Love Cycle 1971 by Chinua Achebe. 11. Women, published in 1973 by Alice Walker. 12. Goodbye Party for Miss Pushpa T.S., published in 1976 by Nissim Ezekiel. 13. A Martian Sends a Postcard Home, published in 1979 by Craig Rain. 14. Peace and War, published in 1980 by Margaret Scott. 15. Caged Bird, published in 1983 by Maya Angelou. And finally, number 16, So Much of Me, published in 2000 by Charlene Rajendran. Meanwhile, the prescribed texts for Semester 1 on short stories are as follows. The first one is Arriving, published in 1995 by K.S. Maniam. 2. A Wedding and a Funeral, published in 2006 by Matthew Thomas. 3. Calculator, published in 2006 by Rizwan Uthman. 4. My Grandpa's Funeral, published in 2007 by Chua Kok Yi. 5th, Dividing Walls 2008 by Shili Kao. 6th, Nayagi, Mistress of Destiny, published in 2009 by Uttaya Sankar. This is followed by number 7, Moving Home in 2010 by Chua Kok Yi. 8, Act of Faith, published in 2015 by Fazli Shah Johanabas. 9, Janaki's Journey, published in 2021 by Krishnaveni K.K. Panika. And finally, number 10, The Pickpocket, published in 2021 by Anis Rosalina Ramli. We now move on to Semester 2. For Semester 2, which is plays, there are only 2 prescribed texts. The first play is Othello, published in 1604, written by William Shakespeare, and the other play is called A Doll's House, published in 1879 by Henrik Ibsen. Finally, for Semester 3, which is novels, there are also only 2 prescribed texts. The first novel is Sense and Sensibility, written by Jane Austen, originally published in 1811, but the version which we will be using is a 2003 publication. The other novel is The Namesake, published in 2004 by Jumpa Lahiri. We now move on to the contents of the new syllabus specifications. For the content, Part 1, Critical Appreciation. Part 1 here outlines the critical appreciation skills component. It is an integral part of the syllabus and a crucial guide to analyzing the prescribed texts and answering the questions in Papers 1, 2, and 3. It must be stressed here that the teaching periods for critical appreciation are not specified in the syllabus. For this part, candidates will be applying the skills they acquire in critical appreciation as they explore the prescribed learning materials. The following are the topics together with the subtopics. The first topic is on literature, language and form, with the subtopics of literary devices, narrative techniques, setting, characterization, structure, themes/issues/concerns, reader response, and language and style. For the second topic, which is on literature, history and culture, with the subtopics of context, themes/issues, and cultural perspective. Finally is the third topic of literature and gender, with the subtopics of gender, context, themes/issues, vantage point, and finally cultural perspective. We now move on to Part 2, which is categorized according to the semesters. For Semester 1, which covers poetry and short stories, the first topic is on poetry. The following are the subtopics for poetry: background, verse forms, devices, metrics, theme and interpretation, atmosphere, relevance and moral concerns. The content for part 2, poetry and short stories for semester 1. For the second topic, which is on short stories, the following are the subtopics: background, plot, characterization, setting, narrative technique, literary devices, language and style, themes, relevance and ethical and moral concerns. For the content part 2 for plays, for semester 2, which covers plays, there is only one topic, namely on the plays, with the following subtopics: background, types of plays, reading the text, aspects of play, relevance, moral concerns, and the play as theatre/film. Finally, for semester 3, which covers novels, the topic is just on novels with the following subtopics: background, plot, characterization, setting, narrative technique, literary devices, language and style, theme, relevance, and moral concerns. With that, we have reached the final stage of my briefing on the new syllabus for the 920 Literature in English subject for STPM. Ladies and gentlemen, literature is a story of our life. Literature changes lives positively. Young adults need that positive change through literature. I would like to end this briefing then with a quote from our new syllabus: literature is life, past, present and future. Thank you.